You take an aggressive approach to Black Lives Matter protests, but not to right-wing extremists threatening to lynch a governor if it's for the president's benefit. Did I get it right, Mr. Barr?
Attorney General William Barr faced the House Judiciary Committee today, and it got crazy. Now, the clip I'm going to have later on is a little more enjoyable, as Pramila Jayapal completely demolishes William Barr. But before we get there, the stuff that sucks. These two clips I'm going to show you about the election should worry you. There have been a lot of experts discussing that William Barr may attempt to try something with this election if Donald Trump loses or even before he loses. The answers he gives here to Democrats on questions about the upcoming election, I think should worry you. So let's get to the first one.
Now, you just testified that there's no mechanism for a president to contest an election that has clearly been won by the opponent. Mr. Attorney General, what will you do if Donald Trump loses the election on November 3rd, but refuses to leave office on January 20th?
If the results are clear, I would leave office.
Do you believe that there is any basis or legitimacy to Donald Trump's recent claim that he can't provide an answer as to whether he would leave office?
I really am not familiar with these comments or the context in which they occurred, so I'm not going to give commentary on them.
Okay, thank you. He just stated that publicly about a week ago to Fox.
All right. Now, this may not seem like a lot to you, but with William Barr saying that if the results are clear, well, I'll leave office. Of course, first of all, he's just talking about himself. He's not saying what Trump's going to do. But define clear. That's completely subjective. So what may be a clear result to most people doesn't mean it's going to be a clear result to William Barr and Donald Trump, leaving the possibility open that they will say, hey, the results are unclear, and because of that, A, B, and C. Not going to leave office because of whatever. So this is the first clip dealing with that. Let me show you another one where, it goes even further.
Mr. Barr, the president has suggested that only votes counted on Election Day should be what matters, meaning that if a voter casts a legal ballot on or before Election Day, but that ballot is not counted on Election Day, it shouldn't count at all. So I want to ask you again about your commitment to ensuring that every vote is counted. If, in this upcoming November election, the president asks you to intervene and try to stop states from counting legal ballots after Election Day, will you do the right thing and refuse? Yes or no?
I will follow the law.
You won't say no, sir?
I'll follow the law.
It's very disappointing.
If a state has a law that says it has to be cast on Election Day, that's the law.
Will you commit to making sure the Department of Justice does not get involved in a contested election, yes or no?
I will follow the law.
It is so disappointing that we can't get a clear answer on that. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to ask unanimous consent to submit for the record the following items. An item from The Guardian magazine, an embarrassment. Trump's Justice Department goes quiet on voting rights. Second, New York Times magazine, William Barr, state of emergency. Finally, from the Washington Post, Trump's assault on the election integrity forces question what would happen if he refused to accept the loss.
Another one where Bill Barr does not give you a clear answer. I will follow the law. He can interpret the law however he wants to interpret it. Him guaranteeing here that he will not commit, that the DOJ won't get involved in a contested election. Basically, he's saying that, yeah, we might, probably will. By leaving this door opened, I think it's clear what his intentions are. They're going to try something. So, look, there are people that know a lot more on this issue than I do, obviously. Some of the articles that were discussed there, I'm sure you can read into them. In fact, one of them here just get the headline here. So the Guardian piece that was suggested there, an embarrassment. Trump's Justice Department goes quiet on voting rights. Let me just read you a little piece here. So amid concern that the Attorney General William Barr is using the department to advance Trump's political interests, observers say the department is failing to protect the voting rights of minority groups. Remarkably, while the department has been involved in a handful of cases since Donald Trump's inauguration, it has largely defended voting restrictions rather than opposing them. And this is just on voting rights, which we always, I say this every time, and it's common knowledge. When turnout is low, Republicans win. When turnout's high, Democrats win. Republicans benefit when they were trying to suppress the vote, especially because they were trying to suppress the voting rights of minority groups who largely don't vote for Republicans. So that's another piece of the election you got to worry about. And then, of course, this was recent. I believe it was last month. Yeah, June 26th, 2020. Barr claims voting by mail will lead to fraud, counterfeiting, admits he has zero evidence. But already, they are paving the way here for an election loss and blaming it on mail-in voting and maybe trying to do something with the mail-in votes that will attempt to nullify the result. I don't know. Clearly, look, I'm speculating here because I don't know. I don't know what they have in mind. But clearly, they're not just set and content to accept the results, whatever they are. Now, let me go to the fun part, I guess. So there's one clip here, but it's going to be stitched together weirdly. You're going to see it go from Fox News to CNN, just so you're clear, because one clip ends at a certain point. But here, Representative Jayapal completely dismantles William Barr, and also, in doing so, exposes him for the fraud that he is.
Are you aware that these protesters called for the governor to be lynched, shot, and beheaded?
No,
You're not aware of that?
I was not aware of it.
Major protests in Michigan. You're the Attorney General, and you didn't know that the protesters called for the governor to be lynched, shot, and beheaded. So obviously you couldn't be concerned about that.
Well, there are a lot of protests around the United States, and on June 1st, I was worried about the District of Columbia, which is federal.
In certain parts of the country, you're very aware of those, but when protesters with guns and swastikas and Confederate flags, excuse me, Mr. Barr, this is my time and I control it. You are aware of certain kinds of protesters, but in Michigan, when protesters carry guns and Confederate flags and swastikas and call for the governor of Michigan to be beheaded and shot and lynched, somehow you're not aware of that. Somehow you didn't know about it, so you didn't send federal agents in to do to the president's supporters what you did to the president's protesters. In fact, you didn't put pepper balls on those protesters. So the point I'm trying to make here, Mr. Barr, that I think is very important for the country to understand, is that there is a real discrepancy in how you react as the Attorney General, the top cop in this country, when white men with swastikas storm a government building with guns. There is no need for the president to, quote, activate you because they're getting the president's personal agenda done. But when black people and people of color protest police brutality, systemic racism, and the president's very own lack of response to those critical issues, then you forcibly remove them with armed federal officers, pepper bombs, because they are considered terrorists by the president. You take an aggressive approach to Black Lives Matter protests, but not to right-wing extremists threatening to lynch a governor if it's for the president's benefit. Did I get it right, Mr. Barr?
I have responsibility for the federal government, and the White House is the seat of the executive
Mr. Barr, let me just
branch,
make it clear. You are supposed to
the Michigan
represent
authorities
the
can
people
handle
of the United States of America, not violate people's First Amendment rights. You are supposed to uphold democracy and secure equal justice under the law, not violently dismantle certain protesters based on the president's personal agenda.
Gentlelady's time is
All right, so clearly an incredible job there by Pramila Jayapal. Though I do wish she did one more thing. I'm going to mention it in a minute here. But look, it starts off Barr apparently not knowing about the Michigan protests. Really? Really? You really didn't know about the Michigan protest? It was all over the news. It was on, local news, obviously. Here, Governor Whitmer becomes target of dozens of threats on private Facebook groups ahead of armed rally in Lansing. New York Post, among other publications, Washington Post, New York Times, everybody covered this obvious story because it was a huge story. Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer receiving violent threats amid lockdown. These were actual violent protesters carrying guns, threatening the governor. Yet in that situation, the Michigan authorities can handle, as William Barr was saying at the end, the Michigan authorities, could handle the situation there. Why couldn't they handle the situation in Oregon, where it's actual peaceful protesters, not armed? I did a video on this yesterday. You saw the massive crowd of peaceful protesters. And then you also see the feds in Portland escalating the situation, pepper spraying people who aren't doing anything wrong, kidnapping people off the street and into unmarked vehicles, not identifying themselves. You had to go into Oregon, to Portland, but not into Michigan? No. You see exactly what's going on here. There is an obvious approach when it comes to Black Lives Matter protesters compared to protesters that back Donald Trump. So look, this is William Barr. Unfortunately, is one of the people you really have to worry about, because he knows what he's doing. Donald Trump's a total idiot, but he is a vessel for the absolute worst people. People like Stephen Miller, people like William Barr. So to go back to, the beginning, this election is something you should be concerned about, which should make you want to ensure that you go out and vote. You have to overwhelm the vote as much as possible.